The fall. It usually signals the beginning of the off-season for drift drivers. It's when you're assessing the damage, thinking about future mods and making a plan for next season. However, that is not exactly the case here, thanks to our national competition, which stretches all the way into November. Therefore, we're going to be able to enjoy a couple more events before the end of the season. And with round 1 already done, it was now time for round 2. The Racegasmic Drift Cup is the Slovenian Open National Drift Championship, which has been dormant for the past 3 years. But it is now back and it is better than ever, with more competitors, 2 classes of the competition and the event stretching throughout 2 days. It is making a name for itself in the local drift scene with every passing event. Like the previous round, it is being held at the Safe Driving Center in Ljubečna, which also doubles as the second location of the Racegasmic Polygon. A place where you can practice drifting with your own car or you can even rent one. And also like the previous round, the organizers have set up a live stream, so if you couldn't come to the event, you could enjoy the competition from home. However, it was also used to help the judges in the judging process with its many camera angles and drone footage. A very welcome addition was this massive screen by the track, which was playing the live stream during the competition, making this round even better than the last. Saturday was the day of qualifiers. I wanted to walk around the pits a little bit and see who will be competing. I immediately noticed that there were quite a bit more drivers than in round 1. A lot of mainstay Slovenian drivers were present, and because the Croatian Drift Challenge was well finished at that point, there were quite a lot of Croatian drivers present. Among them was this insane E30 with a camped Corvette-based LS7 and the rear axle from an E39 M5, and it was crazy fast. There was also this S14 from Bulgaria, which you might remember from the Drift Climb video, and a really pretty turbo compact from Austria. I somehow managed to convince the organizers to give me and Jost, who once again pulled through to provide some additional shots, a media vest, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. That, however, also meant that we got the best seat in the house for all the action. And for those who didn't want to just watch the action but wanted to be a part of it, there was also a drift taxi offering its services. You could ride in an M62 B44 powered E36 compact or an M54 B30 E46, all driven by some very skilled drivers. While forced induction is pretty common in the higher unlimited class, it is basically non-existent in the lower OEM Plus class, mainly because it wasn't offered on any petrol BMW models that are currently being used as drift cars. There is one car in this class though that makes use of forced induction, and it's not a BMW. This is Valentin's Lexus IS200, upgraded with a Mercedes supercharger, yes, you heard that right, and sporting a really nice body kit, which with its uniqueness and style makes it probably my favorite car of the event.
Sam moram pa reči, ne, fitment pa body kit, ne, to je pa on point.
To je pa nekaj, kar sem hotel, da v Sloveniji se tudi malo začne, da je...
Pravilno, ja.
Nekaj, evo, tukaj je še celo logo od Mercedesa.
In kako je v bistvu nosilc narejen?
Nosilc je pa narejen, v bistvu gre iz tukaj dol na spodnji most, pa na v bistvu klej, ki je pri kolektorju se prišrafa, da ga držite. To je pa narejen, da ne rabim blow-off valva ali pa karkoli. Je pa v bistvu narejena loputa, se pravi je povezana na gas. In več gasa, ko dam v bistvu, bolj ga zapre.
A to je ena zajla je povezana okoli.
Ja, ja.
Wow, to je...
To je simpel stvar, da deluje. Najboljše pa to, ker je elektronska sklopka, ne? Zdaj ne bi deloval, če požgem luči, ker imam tam na luči zvezano, če požgem luči se sklopka engagea in imam boost.
Sik, jo!
Da lahko sem NA ali boostat, kar hočemo, ne?
Hudo. Intercooler imaš?
Ja, intercooler je pa tu spodaj. In pol imam pa še v bistvu je pa od IS300, ki je hladilnik. Ker je večji bil fabrška, ker je od tu že izjemno. To je pa v bistvu kopija original Airboxa, ker so bili zelo redke verzije. 250 jih je bilo v bistvu iz fabrike, ki so imeli supercharger. In to je kopija original Airboxa.
Aha, prav za supercharge verzijo.
Tako za supercharger verzijo, ja.
Koliko pa, kaj misliš, da ima konja oziroma kaj veš?
Se pravi tako, z tem pulijem, kolikor ima zdaj gor, bi mogel imeti avto tam 230-240, ampak kot sem rekel, en bar pritiska manj, tam nekje 200-210 bi rekel po feelingu.
Pa imaš pa še kakšne druge predelave, podvozje, valjda imaš spuščenega?
Ja, se pravi imam gevinde, kaj so da gevinde, lock-kit, pa imam pa spredaj že nekaj že napolni buši. Mislim, tudi Fedri so že stifar od navadnih in jaz sem zdaj 20K pa 18K. Je full stiff, ma sem imel še zmer probleme, da je v bistvu body kit zadeval v tla, kadar sem šel v drift noter. Jaz sem dal pol še debelejši swaybar zadnji, da v bistvu, ker je bil avto spredi preveč stiff. Zadaj je bil mehek in sem še tisto dal, da se je avto pol začel normalno boljše peljati.
Kaj pa je notranjost, je kaj tako posebej? Še to je dosti creature comforts vidim.
Ohranjam avto čim bolj pri daily like, OEM like notri, zdaj sem dodal hidro. Ga mislim v bistvu prestaviti, cilinder dati v armrest. Imam pa tudi že zdaj tako narejeno.
Removable.
Samo odstraniti.
A je to street auto, by the way?
Ja, ohranjam street.
Kaj imaš pa števce za ene, imaš kaj, pritisk kola, temperaturo pa EFR ugibam?
Ne, pritisk olja, pa temperatura olja in pa boost.
Boost.
Bo še v bistvu stok računalnik. To je tudi zanimivo, ja. V bistvu te računalniki stok lahko handlajo boost.
Super.
Do 0,3 bara lahko on handla boost. Pol, kar imam več, imam pa pol v bistvu fuel cut defender, ki ima malo lažje parametre, kako je. Tega računalnika ne moreš napirati. Ker karkoli daš gor, se bo sam remapal, ker se konstantno remapal. Kar se tudi včasih opaziš pri vožnji, da malo spreminjamo. Vedno bolj me mika tudi JSO.
Fair enough, se je bil dejansko v teh avtih so bili atmosferski.
Tako ja, da bi se pa ga dam notri, v bistvu pa še navijake, vse notri, tudi komp, vse pride isto, wiring pride praktično isti, malo drugače. Tako da mogoče tudi JSO next year.
Eventually, ja.
Another car that stood out among the BMWs of the Unlimited class was this Turbo MX-5, very aptly named Baby Viper. Despite it looking pretty simple, it is actually substantially modified, pushing over 300 horsepower, and judging by it rocking license plates, it is likely that it's street legal, or at least street legal-ish. It's definitely a well set up car, driven by an experienced driver, which goes to show as it got third place in round 1. In the afternoon, it was time to start the qualifiers, first with the OEM Plus class and then with the Unlimited class. Because of the increased number of competitors, unlike in the last round, each competitor got 2 runs instead of 3 to avoid driving in the dark. The qualifiers for the Racegasmic Drift Cup are very similar to your average competition. The drivers are expected to drive the best qualifying line described by the judges in the driver's briefing. That means getting close to all the clips, staying in the zones and hitting the touch and goes. Beside the line itself, the drivers are also being scored on their angle, flow and speed/aggressiveness, which all totals to a maximum of 50 points per run and 100 points for the 2 runs. And what exactly was demanded from the drivers? This was the layout, and this is the rough location of the clips and zones. Compared to last time, it looked like the track was easier, and it was also a lot more forgiving. There were some minor incidents, but luckily nothing major happened. After the qualies were over, it was time to head home and come back on race day. Next morning, practice was on its way, and another vehicle was added to the fleet of taxi drift cars. It was Eric's Lexus GS 430, which, fun fact, is actually right-hand drive. This absolute unit of a drift car still has most of its factory luxuries and a 4.3-liter 3UZ engine, which is happily chugging along when transporting up to 3 passengers. Speaking of the famous Toyota V8, Eric offered me a ride-along in his 3UZ swapped E36 competition car. And what is interesting about this car, that it is actually using an automatic BMW transmission, using it as a budget sequential transmission with an electronic clutch. It's a super advanced and interesting setup and way beyond my comprehension. Sadly, there were some issues with the transmission in the qualifiers, so overnight he swapped back to a manual.
So yesterday there were a couple of problems at the qualifiers. You had some transmission issues.
Yes, the 8 HP gave out. This is the D and E clutch, which hold the second, third and fourth gear. We're sleeping from the beginning. The funniest part is that I didn't touch the drive line, and I was on the same tires as in Serbia, and there were no issues with the clutches sleeping. Yeah, I have to rebuild the transmission. I haven't given up on the automatic drift car idea yet, but it will probably live in another chassis, because this car is more or less finished in the state as it is now.
Okay.
By finished, I mean competitive, reliably running, and able to do competitions or fun events.
Before the tandem battles begun, there was a driver introduction, where all the drivers competing parked their cars and were introduced. First was the OEM Plus class, and while we're here, I think it would be fitting to explain the requirements for each class. The OEM Plus is limited to cars with an engine making less than 250 horsepower and having less than 3,500 cc's of engine displacement. The Unlimited class, however, doesn't have any power restrictions, but it does have some additional safety requirements, mainly a roll cage. With all the drivers' introductions done, it was time to start the battles, starting with the OEM Plus class. As the sun was slowly setting, the OEM Plus tournament bracket was finished. There was a short break for some drift taxi rides, but then we could all enjoy some golden hour drifting. The sun has already set when the finals were starting. Our local drift competitions have an additional rule that in order to win the finals, you have to beat your opponent twice, which means that at minimum there'll be 2 battles with 4 runs.
Veliko dima. Janko zelo blizu ograje. Tokrat šorek svi, pa sem videl na vse. Dajme na plavši za tole vožnjo.
Winners were then announced at the award ceremony, and so the event came down to a close, and like the drift climb, it was probably one of the best. The turnout was amazing, there were a whole bunch of interesting cars. Besides drifting, you could also check out the car show, try out some RC cars and get something to eat. As far as drifting is concerned, I'm a big fan of the class split because it allows the lower budget BMW builds to really shine and provide us with some real competitive battles, while the big boy cars can duke it out amongst themselves. I'd also like to thank the organizers for the media access that I've been granted, which gave me an opportunity to make this video. Links to their social media will be down in the description, so check them out. There will also be links to social media of the featured drivers, so please check them out as well. I'd also like to thank you, the viewers, for watching the video. I hope you found it interesting. If you did, you can leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. That'll be all for today. Thanks again for watching, get yourself some stickers, and have a great rest of your day.